Welcome, everyone, to the C9 podcast show. I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera.
And we just really want to explicitly welcome all of you, the followers of the C9 podcast and our business stage.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
If you are an Australian business owner or, a C-level executive, this specific deep dive is built entirely for you.
Absolutely.
Because today, we're targeting this massive systemic problem, one that is honestly quietly draining your resources right now.
It really is.
And that's the hidden compounding cost of manual operational inefficiencies. So we are going to explore this 5-step framework for making an effective operational decision.
Right, and we're drawing directly from real-world source material today, specifically case studies from C9.
Yeah.
They're Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer. So we're going to see how tools like Power Automate and Power BI are saving businesses, huge amounts of time and money.
Which is the hook here, right? Because by the end of this deep dive, you're going to see exactly how these Australian companies are turning hours of mind-numbing data entry into literally just seconds of automated, actionable insights.
It's wild to see the transformation. But to actually get there, before a business leader can solve a problem of this magnitude, you have to start by successfully classifying it.
Right.
And then defining it. Because looking at these case studies, it's not just a slow workflow issue.
No, it's not.
It is a systemic rot. Australian businesses are facing these compounding operational hurdles.
So let's classify that. What are the specific hurdles in this environment?
Well, first, it's a mix of rising labor costs, like universally rising. Every hour spent on manual data entry is exponentially more expensive today than it was even a few years ago.
Oh, totally.
And then you have the sheer vastness of our geographic distances.
Yeah, the Australian footprint is huge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might have your executive team sitting in a major urban center, like Sydney or Melbourne.
Yeah.
But your actual operational footprint extends way out into regional areas in Tasmania or, far north Queensland.
Right, and when your data is spread out across all those vast distances, bouncing between different devices and networks, you slam right into the third hurdle.
Which is?
The incredibly strict regulatory environment.
Oh, yes. Data sovereignty.
Yeah, exactly. The Privacy Act 1988 specifically, and I think we need to break that down for the listener because data sovereignty can sound like just corporate jargon, right?
It does, yeah.
But mechanically, what does that actually mean for, say, a mid-sized Australian business?
Well, mechanically, it means you can't just go and use any cheap, off-the-shelf software and let your data float around the cloud somewhere.
Right.
The Privacy Act actually dictates that specific types of Australian personal and commercial data have to physically reside on servers located within Australian borders.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have to be subject only to Australian laws.
Yeah.
So if your regional manager out in Queensland is using a third-party SaaS app to track field data.
Just because it was cheap and easy to download.
Exactly. And if that app routes its processing through a server in another country, your entire business could be in breach of federal law.
That is terrifying.
It is. And then you add in sector-specific regulations like healthcare compliance or government sectors, and the landscape is just incredibly fragile.
So that classifies the environment, right? It's expensive, it's geographically massive, and it's highly regulated.
Right.
So let's define the problem. What do the actual symptoms of this look like inside an office? Because I imagine to the CEO, it's not always obvious that the ship is taking on water.
Well, the symptoms usually just masquerade as business as usual.
Yeah, people just think that's how work gets done.
Exactly. We're talking about organizations running national reporting out of isolated, disconnected spreadsheets. They're relying on email-based approvals for critical operational stuff. Or they have these disconnected legacy systems that just completely refuse to talk to their modern accounting software.
I mean, trying to run a modern business on legacy, manual spreadsheets like that, it's honestly like trying to navigate a cross-country Australian road trip using a paper map from 1995.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Meanwhile, all your competitors are using real-time live traffic GPS, and I actually want you, the listener, to stop and reflect on this right now. How much time is your finance team spending just manually reconciling invoices?
Probably way more than you think.
Exactly. And the downstream effects of those symptoms are severe. Obviously, staff burnout is a huge one.
Oh, here.
No one goes to university to spend their day copying and pasting numbers across two different screens. But the real danger is at the leadership level.
The compliance risks.
Compliance risks, yes, but also strategic blind spots.
Yeah.
If your data requires 3 days of manual processing before it finally reaches an executive dashboard, then your leadership team is making these high-stakes decisions based on outdated or incomplete data.
You're steering the ship while looking backwards.
Perfectly said. Which brings us to the next step in making an effective decision. Specifying the answer to the problem.
Right. What must the solution actually look like?
Exactly. Now that we've defined this problem as a compounding systemic failure of legacy processes, you have to specify what the answer needs to achieve.
And synthesizing the requirements from these C9 case studies, an effective answer really has to do a few specific things.
Okay, let's hear it.
First, it must connect those disparate, isolated systems. Second, it has to automate the repetitive tasks.
Manual data entry.
Right. Third, it needs to ensure strict regulatory compliance by design. And fourth, it has to provide real-time, actionable visibility across those massive geographic distances.
So how does C9 approach that?
Well, they introduced Power Automate and really the broader Microsoft Power Platform combined with embedded business intelligence, so Power BI dashboards, and mobile app development.
Okay, wait, I need to push back here for a second.
Sure.
Because if I'm a CTO or an operations manager listening to this, my immediate reaction is going to be about tech bloat.
Yeah, that's a common concern.
I mean, we already have a CRM, we have an ERP, an HR platform. Isn't this just throwing more software at a software problem? How does adding another massive Microsoft platform actually reduce overwhelming tech bloat?
It's a really valid question, but it comes from a slight misunderstanding of what this architecture actually does.
Okay, explain it to me.
It is not about adding more software that your staff has to log into and learn. It's about creating a unified ecosystem. It acts as intelligent middleware.
Intelligent middleware.
Yeah. It ties your existing systems together and layers intuitive automated dashboards over the top. So the data actually works for the humans, not the other way around.
So it's sitting invisibly beneath the surface, just translating the data between the systems you already use.
Precisely. You aren't replacing the foundation, you're just building the automated connective tissue.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. But specifying the perfect solution in theory is one thing. Actually deciding what is right for a specific, unique business is entirely different.
Exactly. You can't just buy a middleware license off the shelf and expect it to automatically fix your unique operational bottlenecks.
Right. It requires a collaborative approach. And C9 has a very specific methodology for this, don't they?
They do. It's a 5-step decision-making journey to ensure leaders make the right custom choices.
Let's walk through those 5 steps.
Step 1 is discovery and scoping. These are deep dive workshops to actually understand the unique pain points of the business.
Finding the actual problems, not just the perceived ones.
Exactly. Then step 2 is collaborative design, where they focus heavily on usability and security. Step 3 is agile development.
Now, agile development is huge because they don't just take a brief disappear for 6 months and hand you a finished product.
Right. They do iterative builds and early prototypes.
Which is so much better.
Yeah, because it means the client can physically interact with the logic early on. Then step 4 is testing and optimization. And finally, step 5 is deployment and support.
It's basically like going to a master tailor rather than just buying an off-the-rack suit.
That's a great way to put it.
The agile approach means the solution is cut precisely to fit the regulatory and geographic contours of your specific business.
And to really see why this matters, we should look at some of the real-world case studies in action.
Yes, let's do that. The source material highlights Specialist Electrical Solutions, or SES.
Right. SES is a perfect example of that geographic data problem we talked about earlier.
Yeah, they had field techs all over the place.
Exactly. And they were spending hours, literally hours, on manual timesheets and roster day off, or RDO, tracking.
Which is just a nightmare for the administrative team.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
So what was the right decision for them? C9 didn't just give them a new spreadsheet. They built a custom web portal with dynamic dashboards.
And crucially, mobile access for the field techs, right?
Yes. The information appears in seconds. A technician finishes a job, inputs their info on their phone, and it flows directly into the portal.
So 0 manual data entry back at the head office.
Zero.
That's incredible. Now, compare that to a totally different business model. Studio Pilates.
Oh, right.
They operate this massive international franchise network. And they were really struggling with fragmented data.
Yeah, because when you have franchises in different countries, one studio is using a Google Sheet, another is using local accounting software.
Just a mess.
Total mess. You can't compare the metrics to plan strategic expansion. So for them, the right decision was implementing Power BI embedded dashboards.
And embedded is the key distinction there.
Exactly. The franchise owners don't have to log into a separate analytics app. It's built right into the portal they already use.
And it provides role-based, real-time insights, right? So a local studio owner only sees their own metrics,
Yep.
but the global CEO logs in, and the system aggregates all that standardized data from across the world into one unified view.
It takes raw, chaotic data and turns it into exactly what the leadership needs.
Let's do one more case study from the sources. One School Global.
Oh, this one is fascinating.
It really is. They made the leap from manual student transport tracking to a fully integrated system.
Because trying to manage school buses nationally with phone calls and clipboards is just a massive risk.
Right. If a bus is delayed, how do you instantly tell the specific parents of the kids on that exact bus?
You can't, not manually. So C9 built this integrated system with in-vehicle tablet apps for the drivers.
Giving them real-time GPS tracking.
Exactly. And that data feeds into an admin dashboard. But here's the best part. It also has automated parent notifications.
So if a bus deviates from its route, the system just automatically pings the parents.
Yep. No admin has to pick up the phone. It's a fully closed, automated loop.
Wow. Okay, so we've classified the problem, specified the answer, and decided on the right custom architecture. But a decision isn't actually made until it's carried out.
Right. The final step, execution.
You have to deploy the automation so it actually gets adopted by the workforce and delivers ROI. And I really want to talk about implementation fatigue here.
Oh, it's a huge issue.
Right, because how do leaders ensure their staff don't just reject the new system out of habit? You know, you launch a new tool and everyone just groans.
They absolutely do. But successful execution relies on a phased approach to minimize that operational disruption. You have to deliver early value.
Right. Show them it actually makes their life easier.
Exactly. And the agile development process helps so much here. Because C9 incorporates user feedback early via those prototypes, the staff actually feel involved.
They feel a sense of ownership over the tool.
Yes. And because the solutions are focused on usability, the staff feel the relief of automation immediately.
And mobile integration is particularly crucial for adoption among Australia's distributed workforces. Right?
Unquestionably. Take PubTech, for example.
Okay, what did they do?
They were relying on these error-prone Excel spreadsheets for their hospitality venues. C9 centralized the whole system. They ditched the spreadsheets, and suddenly the teams were freed up for higher value work.
They didn't have to spend hours fighting with formulas.
Exactly. The adoption was rapid because the value was obvious.
And we see the same thing in the healthcare sector with HealthCare.
Right. They had really slow GP referrals.
Which is a huge bottleneck.
Huge.
Yeah.
C9 came in and built secure middleware integrations. It enhanced the speed of their processes while ensuring strict healthcare compliance.
It just removed the administrative friction entirely.
Yes. And then you have sectors like agriculture and utilities, Tasmanian Irrigation, for instance.
Oh, right, managing water rights.
Exactly, highly regulated. C9 modernized their legacy platforms to handle all that water tracking. And Avu Data...
Professional agricultural tracking. Yeah.
Right. They modernized them to ensure regulatory compliance and industry-wide data accuracy. In all these cases, the staff rapidly adopt the new system because it actively removes the worst parts of their job.
Which is why the return on investment is so strong. You often realize that ROI within the first year just by recapturing all those lost hours.
Exactly.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Let's briefly recap this journey of making an effective operational decision.
Sure.
It starts by classifying the systemic rot of manual workflows, acknowledging those compounding hurdles in the Australian market.
Then you define the problem, specifying the need for automated, real-time insights instead of disconnected spreadsheets.
Right. Then you decide on a tailored architecture. You don't just buy generic software. You use an agile methodology to build what you actually need.
And finally, you carry it out with a phased, mobile-friendly deployment that ensures your staff actually adopt the technology.
It really is a powerful framework. So, to you, the listener, your call to action today is clear. Partner with C9, Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company.
Yes, definitely check them out.
Visit www.c9.com.au to explore their process automation developer service page and begin your success story.
And don't forget to click that follow button so you don't miss our future deep dives.
Yeah, and please share this with anyone, fellow business owners, CTOs, operations managers, who could really benefit from this knowledge.
They'll definitely thank you for it.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over on your own.
What is it?
Well, with 2026 trending heavily toward rapid AI and automation adoption, and your competitors already out there turning hours of manual labor into mere seconds of automated insights,
Right.
what is the true compounding cost to your business of delaying the decision to modernize for even one more quarter?
That is a very serious question.
It really is. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.